Good morning, everybody. This is Howard Frear from Easy Software. I'm about to start the webinar, Never Neglect an Opportunity to Improve with Easy. So we'll wait for a few minutes just so that everybody that has registered to join has an opportunity to sign in. But I'd like to welcome those that are already signed in terms of spending time with us this morning. As I say, this is a customer webinar, so as I say, welcome to all our very loyal customers. And as I say, today you'll hopefully see some new things and be able to set an idea in terms of where you want to go with the digital journey that I suspect most of you, if not all of you, are on there with ourselves. So as I say, I'll just wait for a few more minutes before I kick off. But as I say, there'll be an opportunity. This will last about half an hour. There'll be an opportunity towards the end if I'm prompt to ask a few questions there. But of course, in many cases, I'm your account manager, as is the rest supporting the rest of the team. For those of you where I am not your account manager, of course. So that's absolutely fine. So as I say, looking forward to kicking off. So as I say, we'll be finishing at the top of the hour, 11 o'clock. And as I say, there'll be an opportunity, as I say, just to ask a few questions, handle those at the end. But it should be a fairly brisk run through of what we have and what we've been working on for actually the past 3 years or so. The German development team have been extremely busy adding new features and functions, which, as I say, I want to share with you today. So, as I say, right, I'll kick off then if that's the case now. So, and as I say, welcome to everybody that's joined today. So what we want to talk about today is really the opportunity that moving digital in your businesses is going to present. So first of all, I'm just going to give you an opportunity here to look at the word opportunity. I like this definition here in terms of what Mike Parker from Nike said. These days, information management is key to most businesses, and the collaboration and partnership not only between your internal personnel, your key staff, of course, but also all of your external stakeholders, be they customers like yourselves with Easy, or indeed suppliers. These are critical, and communicating with them effectively and fast so that you can take advantage of the many digital opportunities that are out there in the world today in business. This is what really is the heart of what we're doing for you as Easy, giving you the opportunity to, as I say, collaborate. So what we're going to be showing you now, most of you will have already something, either a scan and archive type solution. So you have a repository where you're going to put digital information, but that's really the bedrock of a digital process now. So as I say, I'm going to look at how we grow you to the next stage of your evolution in becoming more digital. Now, I want to share with you today, this is Easy Software AG's digital agenda, because, of course, we're a business, obviously we're a software business, which obviously not all of you are by any stretch of the imagination, but what you do is impacted by how well you manage your information and how you use information as an asset. As I say, there are a lot of highly successful, in fact, some of the largest global businesses are now, of course, born digital businesses. You look at the Googles of this world, you look at the Apples of this world, even Amazon started as a logistics firm and is still one of the world's largest logistics firm. But of course, everybody's heard of Amazon Web Services now. So they're now a cloud provider and generate huge revenue from taking advantage of the infrastructure they put in place behind that huge global logistics business. So where are we as Easy Software at the moment? Well, we are, I suppose, between the player and transformer area of this. So bottom 5 o'clock position on this central dial here. But as you can see, there are lots of considerations coming over the horizon, many of which are here. Obviously, the cloud is here, and people are looking at insight for big data and smart data. And coming over the hill, as I've mentioned, are things like the Internet of Things and interesting solutions like blockchain. But of course, what we're doing is, as I say, we are as a business transitioning, and we are working with you as our customers to transition you towards a more digital approach to doing business, becoming more collaborative, becoming more integrated with your stakeholder base. So as I say, many of you are Scan and Archive customers. You've certainly got the repository, but what I'm going to show today is perhaps something different for you, your next stage, which I'm going to suggest is now you've got that critical information locked down, controlled, audit proof, you need to do something with it. And then my suggestion here is you start looking at business process. So I'm going to start talking about what Easy has been doing around the workflow piece. So the workflow functions and document management system that underpins many of our existing customers is based around a number of solution sets here. So the functions that we have are a document management system, as you know and love in many cases. Around that is obviously the fundamental secure archive. But of course, on top of that archive, there is the opportunity now, and the price point of this has come down quite a lot in the last couple of years, to get into business process and workflow, where you can start to think about automating some of those critical functions that perhaps slow down your day-to-day activity and mean your time to market perhaps is a lot slower than should be, and a lot slower than it could be, by marrying your information to your people with a solid process. And of course, some of you may be using some of our well-known interfaces, our APIs. We have a SOAP interface, which is the web accessible interface, which I think some of you are using as well. But more of you ought to be using this in terms of linking Easy as an information source to your line of business. Then, of course, in the last 3 years, we've transitioned to provide lots of technology solutions, but making those technology solutions fit business challenges, which is something we've been good at. With the 12,800 or so customers that we have globally, we've been pretty successful, but we look to be more successful by putting applications together such as contract management, which I'll show you a flavor of today, HR management, of course, looking after your people. Your people are your engine of your business, so they're critical. And of course, with things like GDPR over the horizon, everybody's been talking about that. Managing your information becomes super critical from a compliance point of view. And of course, invoice, you're all running finance functions as well. And many of you, as I say, have early entry solutions from Easy to manage invoices. But what other extensions are there? And this is what I'm going to focus on in terms of this webinar today, looking at how we organize reporting, the mobile capabilities of the new solution in Documents 5. Factory, no, that's not us building things in terms of what it might presuppose in that description. That's actually an engine that communicates with other databases, and it will push and pull information from other line of business applications. So it's not just your Easy application we're looking at here. We're looking how we can interchange information between your line of business applications. And there are other features and functions here. You're going to see a function called gadgets. These are small tools that allow your users to graphically see pieces of critical information, key performance indicators, those kinds of things, and looking at how an instant tracking function on a thing that's in jeopardy, perhaps based on a deadline, might be evidenced in the solution. And of course, linking to Active Directory, that's your LDAP for those of you that are non-technical. And of course, we now have an Office template connector as well, which again, some of you might be using the Office integration to the Microsoft Office suite to add content to Easy. And as I say, very simple, very straightforward, but there's a new version of that too. Okay, so why is Easy successful in this digital landscape? Well, as I say, there are a few ideas here that many of you perhaps have been thinking about, but the workflow allows you to, as I say, exchange information and really start to tackle some of those business blockages that you might have in your back office process or indeed your front office process, even in terms of sales and marketing are impacted by certainly information control. And it gives you the capability to obviously escalate things in an automated way. So if things do hit critical timelines, you can manage those very straightforwardly by using the transparency of the web-based workflow here. And it means that your cycle times are reduced, of course, so you get to market more quickly, or you respond to customers or suppliers more efficiently. And it's all about reducing time and certainly now trying to drive any paper out of the process. And as I say, many of you have been successfully driving paper out of the process. But the question you might want to ask is, how much further can I go by doing that? Because paper is still fairly persistent in a lot of organizations, even as an inbound or an output from that point of view. And of course, as I say, dealing with increasing flows, rapidly increasing flows of incoming information, you will need to automate here. So if you're looking at deploying advanced technologies like robotic process automation, you've got to really explore how to integrate those types of solutions using something more straightforward like a workflow, where you can get your human-based processes more automated before you head off in the direction of full automation. And those employees are super important, because those are the people that know your business inside and out. They, in many cases, are delivering the service or function or product that you're delivering as an organization. And we want to make it easy for them to find the information when they need it on the inbound phone call, as a one-point hit in terms of being able to answer a question or deal with a transaction very smoothly, and perhaps, as I say, start to automate some of those transactions so you can focus your people on problem solving on those key areas where you can differentiate yourself. So you need to have one source of the truth. It needs to be intuitive, and it needs to be at people's fingertips. And of course, most people now are extremely comfortable with mobiles. There are almost as, if not more, mobiles on the planet than there are people these days. Many people have 2 and 3 of these things. So tablets and mobile devices now need to be serviced in terms of part of the information file format that you might be using. So we've not neglected that. You'll see the latest web-based interface supports those devices so that you can interact with that information anywhere, be you out in the field, on a customer site, or dealing with an out of the office type environment, or in the office and you just want to touch enable your information flow there. That is all possible now. And I mentioned GDPR, of course. One of the things that a lot of our customers have been talking to us about is how we deal with retention management. And as I say, if you've got an older system, retention management used not to be possible, but in the newer versions and the upgraded versions, and a number of customers have done this, they've looked very seriously at retention management, which is a very significant topic there in terms of supporting information that is critical to your business, and also information that now is no longer pertinent, of course, which is what GDPR is really looking at doing in terms of making sure privacy is built in as a design to the solution. So that's something that some of you will have already have thought about, and I encourage you to continue to do that there as well in terms of your use of Easy, particularly where you've got personally identifiable information held in the repository. And of course, it makes sure that employees can only access the information that is pertinent to their day-to-day activities, and it allows your super users and your C-suite to get an overview as to what is actually happening with information governance as well, which is really what GDPR is all about. And of course, in the latest version, all the access is logged. So you can see if anybody's slipped up, and you have that information, of course, then hopefully none of you are in the breach position in terms of information getting out of your system, but at least you have tools in Easy to be able to verify and audit who has logged into what area of the software and what area of the information that you have held in your repository. But what else? As I say, workflow, very much a case in the early implementation, which again, some of you will have been using, is the ability to follow up things, to automate the reminders, to be able to escalate things that are in jeopardy before they get to mission critical situations. Because as I say, customers are valuable. There's no doubt about it. That is the lifeblood of your business. So interacting with them and letting them know that there's something happening before it reaches critical point is often a point of differentiation, where obviously you can charge premium rate services if you're really, really on top of your customer service proposition here. So workflow enables you to do that, and workflow enables you internally to make sure that if you're working in particularly in large organizations, but also in small organizations as well, nothing gets missed. Putting in belt and braces type activities that make the system the digital assistant that it ought to be in terms of making sure nothing gets missed. So of course you can also then react quickly if you have immediate opportunities, something coming on board quickly, changing your business environment where you need to really react fast, or indeed you have somebody that goes sick, or you have an incident where your business continuity comes into play. You need to be able to react quickly on that as well. And of course, as I've mentioned, information is now the key asset and the key differentiator. What are you doing with that information is critical to your business, I would suggest, and is the point of differentiation between what you could be doing around your service or product, but it's increasingly the information around it that supports the service delivery of that product or service there that's important. So it's got to be intuitive, and as I say, your people as part of your product mix become very, very important to those deliverables, and the software will support you to do that. And the advantages, as I say, the advantages are speed. Everybody wants everything yesterday. Isn't that more true than ever has been said before? Customers in particular and consumers in particular, we're all consumers, obviously, when we get out of our offices. As I say, we want things immediately. We want to make sure that the service level is high. So speed and depth of transaction is really important from that point of view. And frequently it's a case of, for example, stock out situations. When's new stock coming in? That's all around the finance piece, that's around deliveries, that's around ordering. So all of these things become important. So those long chains that you see in, for example, supply chains, the more you can nail down those individual transaction points, those touch points where perhaps you've got people involved and you want to automate those kinds of things, that's what we're looking to do. Obviously, it has to be encrypted in terms of obviously making sure that information is secure. So we can deploy the web client over a secure socket layer here, which is a very intensive and well-used form of encryption to make sure, as I say, the wrong information doesn't get into, or the right information doesn't into the wrong hands, or the wrong information gets into the right hands. And online access occurs via intranet or extranet. And as I say, some of you are using easy solutions as part of your intranet, and some of them are using those for your stakeholders as part of your extranet as well. And that is to be encouraged, of course, because it means things like self-service become very important to you in terms of reducing your cost of transaction as well. Which again is top of most of people's mind when they're dealing business to consumer. The cost of a transaction obviously directly relates to the profitability that you have on any particular transaction. So that's very important, as I say, that you can try and reduce by servicing that information requirement, where there is one, very efficiently and quickly. And of course, with a web client, of course, there's no installation on the client side. So as I say, you can roll that out, and a lot of you have rolled out easy using a concurrent user pool, which is one of our features, which means that the occasional user or the ad hoc user can collaborate along with the administrative heavy user that is in this interface all the while there. So that's a good way to go in terms of leveraging your easy platform, and you can leverage the workflow in very much the same way. Okay, and there are other features and functions. Documents 4 is the previous version. We're now on Documents 5. So it's a 64-bit application. It will sit comfortably on all the current Microsoft suite. It's an SQL-based application, so it will be familiar to you as well, and familiar to the technical audience that support you as well. But the key thing about this in terms of the web client, the key leap that we've made from the Documents 4 client, which was a nice client, works very well, but it did have some Java in it, which of course does present something of a challenge in the modern technical environment there. So as I say, although the Java is still in the back end, that was something that was a local install. So we've taken that away from the HTML5 web client. So it is truly a client free, an installation free client for you to consume, and it will work with all the different form factors now that are popular. So tablets, mobile phones, touch-enabled touchscreen laptops, all of these are supportable, and it means that, as I say, it will interact with your users perhaps in a different way on an individual basis. So it's very personalizable too, which improves your user adoption as well, which is important. And critically, we've introduced some reporting tools, some new dashboards as well. So again, if information is the new oil, as I believe somebody has said, then the insight to that information is where the opportunity perhaps sits. So again, we've introduced something of a reporting engine and enhanced the reporting engine that we had in the system some while back to give you some different outputs, to give you some different graphics, and to give you, hopefully, some better insight in what information you're holding. And it's user friendly. That's the key thing. We want, as always at Easy, to be able to enable you as the customer to take these steps without necessarily having to call on us every time for consultancy work. Obviously, we want to transfer that knowledge where we can, and that is true in all the web applications now we're delivering as business solutions as well. And those authorized users can create their own reports and their own dashboards where they need insight. And as we're talking about workflow, automation is top of mind in most organizations these days. So those reports can be shared with your colleagues, shared with your various stakeholders as well, sent to email externally as well, so that you really do know what's happening in your business and take action in circumstances where there is an opportunity to advance. So without any more ado, what does it look like now? And let's show you the new Documents 5. So first of all, we're going to make it much more personalized for you as individuals, and let's have your corporate branding. Airbus is one of our larger customers, as you would expect. They've got their corporate branding all over their web client. And why not? As I say, it helps very much with user adoption, and it means that when you're introducing new applications to new parts of the organization, they have immediately a look and feel that is familiar to them. And navigation. So we've split the screen now into 3 broad areas, but as I say, it can be adjusted on an individual basis. So you've got navigation in red down the left-hand side, and that's designed to look like an email application. So it's very easy for users to get hold of very quickly and understand intuitively where they go. So what tasks, what inbox information they've got, frequently used areas as well, so they can look at those too. So they're not lost in the system. If you've got large quantities of information, that can be information overload. So we've designed this to be more straightforward there. You've got your list view in the middle where you can generate obviously your lists of results from your search, and of course you've got your folders on the right hand side here with the images coming up, and there's much more image management and image viewing capabilities in this too. And remember, this is all HTML5, so it's designed to be touchable if you've got touchscreen devices, and it's drag and drop friendly too, which again is responsive to your users' requirements, howsoever they want to engage with the system. This is what it looks like. As I say, quite a busy screen here, but as I say, this is really evidence of what you saw earlier here. So you can see the left-hand side, it has the email-esque look and feel with public folders down the left-hand side, which enables you to restrict the information, but also provide information on an aggregated basis down the left-hand side where folders are, bottom left. Then, of course, you've got your list view in terms of different items. We'll touch on how that can be manipulated as well. The all-important image or images in the center, and then, of course, your indexing information and some of your tabs to be able to move between different data points within your system. Along the top, you will have your buttons based on what your action might be at any point in the system. Because this is a workflow tool, those buttons can be added to very quickly, and I'll show you how that might evidence itself as well later. I mentioned dashboards, so this is a view of Easy Contract. It's an application that we ship out of the box. These gadgets, as we talked about earlier, enable you to have this insight for your key performance indicators as a business. So some of the work you'll have to do is think about where are your key performance indicators as they map onto the information that you're using on a day-by-day basis, and have this information presented to those people that can have the most impact on that source of information, on those key performance indicators and those critical outcomes that you've identified. So really nice in terms of being able to deliver information to users in a meaningful way. Search and retrieval, well, we've had search and retrieval in this Easy solution for a very long time. There's now suggested search terms as well in the quick search. Remember, we're full text enabled, so we can deliver solutions that allow you to search for individual words in vast quantities of information, so you can find that critical piece of data that you're looking for, or indeed that customer transaction out of the millions of transactions you're dealing with very quickly. And of course, we have an advanced search capability here, so you can do your combined searches. You can limit the access to those repositories and those processes that are critical, but it allows you then on a more granular level to drill right down into those many thousands of transactions and find exactly the thing you want by the piece of metadata that you need. So there's still metadata in the system, there's still full text capabilities, they're all there for you to avail yourselves of. And what can you do with the interface? I mentioned it's adaptable. So when it's a live edition, you can sort these columns. This is what you're presented with in terms of what users want, but what users want in one department is different from what users will want in another. But the web client allows you to do that without customizing anything. So from a support point of view, this is very straightforward. It means they can move things around to suit the way they want to work, which from a user adoption point of view is fantastic. I can drag and drop tables and columns into here, change widths, and reload things so that it will save the design, whatever design they've come up with, so that they can quickly drop into this. And if they're using another line of business system like a CRM or an ERP solution, they can have these side by side very comfortably in the window. And you can add columns very straightforwardly as well and change those column headings as necessary, depending on the right permissions here. But you can see, as I say, it's very intuitive. Your actions are here as well. So as I say, you can email from here, you can send to a group, send to an individual, log those actions. All the audit trail information is in here as well. And it's very straightforward. If you get lost in a system, which can happen with a large quantities of information, you can go to recently used, which gets you back where you are, or enter via another navigation method from a drop-down list, from your left-hand email-esque type view, or from the search and retrieval capability. So there is no excuse really for now getting lost in a system here, even if you've got complex processes and complex situations to resolve. This is the look and feel for the HR enabled version of this. As I say, we mentioned we released Easy HR. We're now in version 3 of that some while back. So this is now a much more personalized view. So we've customized this solution and it's still the workflow solution. It's still the underlying SQL-based application. But you can see here, this has index fields that are appropriate to the HR function. And as I say, only HR users can look at this. But there are guest features on here, for example, to allow self-service from your employees, if they make a request for a mortgage application, they need some supporting documents sitting in the HR file. Of course, they can make a request by email and you can guest them onto the system here. And as you can see down the left-hand side, if you've got a full easy suite of business solutions here, you have access to a vast resource of information to be able to deal with whatever issue might have. So you have your finance functions, you have your contracting and procurement and sales functions here, as well as your HR functions, depending, of course, on your permissions within the system. Okay, I'm moving swiftly on. So as I say, you can drag and drop in here. That's been a function of the web client for a long time. So it's very easy to communicate with this system and have your information. And you can open documents even in the web client and pop out new windows, as well as comparing side by side as well. This is a neat function we added in Documents 5, allows you to put up a number of documents side by side so you can compare and contrast. And I've mentioned it's fully personalizable. You can take your information, change your view to suit the user. And the managing and designing workflow is very straightforward from the point of view. We have a Microsoft Visio front end to this. So literally, if you can draw it in the Visio with our set of shapes here, you can push a document or a transaction or a task through this, change it on the fly, make sure it works, iterate that until you've got the process exactly right. So it makes it very easy to have the process that you want in this solution. Okay, and Buzz, I'm recognizing that time is limited now, so I'll just buzz past capture as well. A lot of you have the capture solution that we have. Some of you may not know that that is OCR capable. Optical character recognition is built into this, and we can go further now, so we can extract key information for keying invoices into the system without the keying effort of an individual. So that's possible now. The look and feel allows you to have the thumbnails down the right-hand side now instead of over the top as was. And it allows you to do all of these things as well. So for example, validating the information that's inbound to the system, importing data from finance and from CRM, of course, is possible. All about reducing the manual processing time to get transactions onto the system quickly. There's a training feature as well. If you've got unstructured information coming in, for example, like invoices, or indeed any forms that are coming in, you can train the system to recognize changes in those forms to pull out key pieces of metadata. And you could administrate that as well. So if you've got suppliers that are critical to your line of business, you can make sure there's a customization for each individual supplier's format as it comes in. And keep that, and when it changes, you can change it as well, so it passes through smoothly. And finally, the Capture Office suite here, those of you that are using the Office integration, very similar thing. You've got your field capabilities here, so we can pull those fields directly from some of the properties of the document, as you've seen, but we can also validate pieces of information, for example, employee numbers or transaction references that link to other line of business systems very smoothly and very comfortably in the Office integration. So you can literally take an Office document or an email or a PDF that's come in via another route and put that into the system very quickly, or start a workflow there to inform your colleagues that some situation has changed. Okay, getting towards the end now. As I say, we also have cloud solutions coming over the horizon. This is our first Easy Contract Comfort, which is our cloud capability for managing contract lifecycle management. There's a tool on the website that allows you to quote for this in terms of, so you want to know what the contract comfort, if you're not availing yourself of this application, there is the capability to do that. So have a look on the website after this webinar. And of course, that also now includes app development as well. We have an app suite now that we're working busily to provide opportunities. So let's have a conversation perhaps about what apps you want from your Easy solution, and we can look at how we can mobile enable the current information you have, or perhaps a new project that you've got on your horizon. Okay. So just some takeaways whilst we finish. Thank you for your persistence. So first thing, I suggest you book a system check as part of your support contract. That comes included. That's free of charge. It's a half a day. Just check where you are with your Easy system. See how far behind you may be with your version to take advantage of where we're going here. And it's the point at which then we can perhaps engage with you around this piece. Find out what your users are using the system for. If you're not immediately comfortable with it, or you're not a day-to-day user of this, find out. Ask the question. See if your users could use this information in another area of their day-to-day business, and contact us. Book a meeting with myself or my colleague Sam, who's looking after your account, to find out more. We can do this in more depth and more specifically to the way your business would like to operate. We have resources on both the easysoftware.co.uk website and the DM Collaborators blog site. Have a look at those things. It talks about current topics, and it might trigger a thought around which you can go to the business and say, yeah, we need to do more of this in terms of being more efficient in the digital space. Sign up to our free newsletter. We want to keep you informed. There'll be more of those newsletters coming out, so please avail yourself of that facility. And we're also launching a customer extranet very shortly in Q4. So that will have some of the information that you've perhaps been looking for, particularly in terms of help and tips and tricks and frequently asked questions. They're going to be there too. And we'll be working on that over time. And of course, those people that are early adopters, if there are requests for information, let's have them and we'll put that information up for you if we can. And finally, we'll be launching a range of offers. The current offer that we have at the moment for those of you that have signed up to the newsletter is 10% off your additional users, be they named user licenses or concurrent user licenses. So contact your account manager if you want to take advantage of that once you've done a review of your system and talk to your users. So as I say, the digital agenda, I'll wrap up now because we're just 5 past the hour. So thank you very much indeed for your time. As I say, this is critical to where we're going. Most, as I say, business out there are born digital now, so they are going to be your disruptors. So let's make sure that you get access to your information and use that information as an asset within your Easy system. So, as I say, I've been Howard Frear. Thank you for your time and attention this morning. Hopefully that insight was useful for you. And as I say, please engage with us to find out more. If some of the things you've seen today are pertinent to where you're going, that would be great. So as I say, I'm about to run out of time. Of course, I've gone past the hour there. But in terms of answering one question that we've got here, in terms of how do I get, the question was, how does the workflow operate with the archive? That's the question that I just had. Well, it's, as I say, it's a SQL layer. It sits on top of the archive. It communicates with it. It will pull through search and retrieval information, and it means that you can submit information into the repository and out of the repository over that web client. So fairly straightforward to use. So thank you very much. I'll end the session there. As I say, please stay in touch, but thank you very much indeed for taking the time out of your day to view this webinar, and we look forward to seeing you on the next one. Thank you very much.